Hello friends, welcome back to another story that will destroy another little piece of your faith in humanity. Today's story does have some pretty gruesome descriptions, and the topic itself is, it's murder mystery, I guess. But anyway, the story does have some details that could be triggering for some people, so I would suggest you watch at your own discretion. My name is Melissa, and thank you for joining me. Please subscribe down to my channel. Please subscribe down below. Hopefully like this video if you like it. I think that's it. Grab some coffee and let's drink. So I'm sure we've all heard, or maybe even seen the movie, of the story of Sylvia Likens, who was brutally tortured and murdered by Gertrude, nasty ass Gertrude, her kids as well. So now that story is very similar to the story that I'm about to tell you today of Junko Furuta. She was a 16-year-old girl from Japan in November of 1988. She was a very bright young girl. She never did drugs, she never smoked, she never drank. She had good grades in school, and she was very popular despite her like good girl, reputation, I guess. Hi. Thank you. I'll put it right here. All of this changed for Junko when she met a boy by the name of Hiroshi Miyano. He was known to be like a bully, really just like, a very unlikable person. He was often heard bragging about his connection to the notorious Japanese organized crime syndicate of the Yakuza. Miyano would develop this very strong crush, or big crush, on Junko, which kind of led him into asking her into being his girlfriend, but she's a smart girl, so she said, yeah, nope. She said, thank you, next. Being turned down by Junko left Hiroshi like very butthurt, to say the least. So a few days after being turned down and dealing with it, I guess, not in the best way, Hiroshi Miyano and his friend Shinji Minato were at the park. Now these two kids were known as rapists. They would partake in a lot of like the gang related rapes from their organization. So I guess they were good at spotting easy prey. So on this day, which was a few days after being turned down, these two boys were at the park, doing what they did, and it was preying on very like innocent women that were just walking by. It was around 8 when they spotted Junko riding her bike through the park. She was riding home from work, and they came up with this plan where Minato would trip her off her bike and Miyano would kind of like come to her aid or whatever. So they did, and Miyano offered to walk Junko home. She agreed. She thought he was being, kind. But this motherfucker, Junko, would never make it home. What he did instead was he walked her to an abandoned warehouse where he began intimidating her about his, connection to the Yakuza. He would end up raping her and threatening her that if she made a single sound that he would kill her entire family. So she complied. After he was done, he walked her to the park, back to the park where 3 of his friends were waiting for them. When they all met up at this park, now all 4 boys raped her. When they were done at the park, they snuck her into Shinji Minato's home and they locked her in the basement. Now, of course, Minato, he's like still a teenager. They told his parents that Junko was his girlfriend and that she was going to be staying there. Now, it worked, I guess, for a little while until Shinji's parents started kind of like suspecting that there was something a bit more sinister going on and that she wasn't really his girlfriend. After a while, and I say after a while, now why didn't they call the cops? Well, they were afraid of him because of his affiliation with Yakuza. They were like legit afraid of their own son. So they basically turned a blind eye to what he was doing, what him and his friends were doing in their own home. So Junko was kept in this basement for a total of 44 days. Within those 44 days, Junko was raped over 400 times, but not only by just like the 4 boys. They would invite like classmates and friends of theirs to come and take part in these rapes and the tortures that they were putting her through. They would not only rape her, they would also make her masturbate in front of them. They would make her drink her own urine, eat cockroaches. They would insert things into her vagina, including metal rods, skewers, fireworks, even a lit light bulb, and as well as into her rectum, eventually causing like major damage. They completely just destroyed her anatomy, like to the point where she could not even urinate or defecate like properly. At one point they hung her body from the ceiling and they beat her with metal rods, bamboo sticks, golf clubs, really anything they could find. Now, one of the like most frustrating parts is that the police were called twice about what was happening with Junko. The first time, one of the boys who had been invited was disturbed, like deeply disturbed, but by not only what they were doing to Junko, but by the state that she was in when he saw her. So he told his brother when he got home, and his brother would tell their mom, and their mom called the cops and told them what happened, what was happening. So the police go to Minato's home, but they assured them that there was no girl in their home, and they just took their word for it, and they never came back. The second time was Junko herself was able to get a hold of a phone, and she called the police. Unfortunately, though, she was caught by the boys before she could talk to anybody, and when the police station called back, Minato like kind of talked them into believing that it had been like a mistake call, and they never questioned it. Twice they failed this girl, two times. On the day of January 4th, the boys, all 4 boys, they made Junko play a game called Mahjong, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but as a fuck you to them, she beat them, all 4 of them, and They were pretty upset by this, so they tortured her. Can't even talk. They tortured her for the last time, because they would end up officially killing her this time, January 4th of 1989. When they realized that she was dead, they were all of a sudden afraid, because they were afraid of being charged with murder. So what they did was they got a hold of a 55-gallon drum. They put her in it and they filled it up with cement. And then they went and dumped this drum in, I believe, inside a cement truck. And that was kind of it. Oh, okay. So I completely skipped over this part. The reason why Junko's parents didn't actually go out looking for her was because when they first kidnapped her. Oh, hey birdie. Oh, there's so many birdies outside. When they first kidnapped her, they forced her into calling her parents, and they told her to tell her parents that she was running away and that she was going to stay at a friend's house. There's some little birdies outside. Now, her parents did obviously see this as fishy, because she had never, displayed any type of rebellious behavior, so it was very uncalled for. And they did report her missing, but I think that's as far as that went. Now, back to a few days after her being officially murdered and her body being dumped. Miyano and Ogura, they were arrested on a rape charge, a gang rape charge, completely separate from anything Junko related. So while they were being questioned, they had them in separate rooms, and Miyano was, being interrogated, and they brought up an open murder case that they were investigating. Miyano thought that Ogura had confessed to what they had done to Junko, so his dumbass confessed to Junko's murder. And he even told them where to find the body. And within a few days of Miyano confessing, all 4 boys had been, detained. Now the thing is that open murder case that they were investigating had nothing to do with Junko. The police didn't even really know that Junko had been murdered by these boys. So he basically turned himself in, and all the other boys. So Hiroshi Miyano, he was sentenced to 20 years. Shinji Minato, he was sentenced to 5 to 9 years. So, or Jo Ogura, he served 8 years. Yasushi Watanabe, he served 5 or 7 years. Now, some do speculate that it was their affiliation with the Yakuza that influenced how light their sentences were, but others believe that it was their age, and that if they had been, just a couple years older, that they would have been dealt with capital punishment. So yeah, they're basically all free after everything that they had done to her. Yet another story of how police have failed. Not only that, but just how sick some people can be. Anyway, that is the sad, frustrating story of Junko Furuta and her. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe down below. Thumbs up this video as well. It'll help me out a little bit. And yeah, stay tuned for next time, and I will see you guys later.